And the Glasgow Celtic will be there. Good to see you all. Wee bit of Topic Tuesday, and we're in the international break. And like I've been saying to you guys on the last couple of pieces of content we've had going out on the channel, buckle up. We've got a lot to get through. And I thought to kick us off, this is one that has kind of been filtering into the live chat and into the comment section over the last couple of days. For the last 3 or 4 days now, and it was one of those ones. You've seen the title, you'll know the subject as we get to it, of course. I thought, well, why not just open up with this? Because it's not one I think there's really too much. There's plenty to get into, don't get me wrong, but it's not, it's not like signing a player or appointing a manager or something like that, where there's tons of stuff to look into, possibilities and all that kind of stuff. This is very much more away from the pitch, isn't it? So we'll cover that. I've also got a pinned comment in the chat, always on a Topic Tuesday as well. Always very happy to have your guys' suggestions come into the chat as well, and even make it onto the notepad, and it's something we can maybe pick up with later on, because we're in the middle of an international break and there's going to be tons of stuff to get stuck into that I've already got on the notepad, and maybe some new stuff that we can add on to it as well. If you are brand new around here, please do hit subscribe for more content like this and much other stuff, mainly match breakdowns, player reviews and analysis and all that good stuff in between, of course. And if you do enjoy the show, if you're watching it live or after we've been live, of course, please do smash the like button. If you're on mobile, feel free to hype it up as well, and just support the channel. Hopefully we can grow. We can find a few more jungle gyms to come and hang out with us and get the topics going. Yeah, so yeah, hail, good to see you all and all that good stuff. And yeah, thoughts and feelings in the comment section if you're watching this after we've been live, and good to see the live chat popping away. Audience participation, very much welcome on this one. And yeah, looking forward to seeing what we're all thinking and feeling here, because the article that we've got on CeltsAreHere for this came out on the 20th, which I say is 4 days ago, where it initially came out, I think, from Stephen McGowan, who is credited here, CeltsAreHere.com. I'll actually link this in case any of you want the article for any reference into the description of the video, in case any of you are after a bit of that. So let me just pop that in the description quickly before I forget. There we go. Awesome. And why not throw it in the live chat while we're here? Okay, cool. So this is the report we had on the site for it. Stephen McGowan reports that Paul Mazoyer is expected to take up a newly created position overseeing business operations at Parkhead. The role will reportedly sit closely under Chief Executive Michael Nicholson and Chief Financial Officer, everyone's favourite, Chris Mackay, with a clear brief around improving how the club functions off the pitch. Okay, there's more of the article, which we'll maybe touch on bits and bobs of it as we go through, but of course feel free to jump onto the site and read the thing in full for yourselves. Mazoyer arrives from Heineken, where he where his work is centered on customer operations. That background gives a clue as to why Celtic have gone in this direction. This is less about football decisions and more about how supporters experience the club day to day. And I would agree with this as a kind of overall, like, business operations. Like, what is the operational business of Celtic? It is in the business of looking after fans, of looking for new fans. That is generally the business model. Obviously, football is the driver, the genre, whatever you want to think of it as, it gets everything moving, of course. But in terms of the business operation, it's about making money. And how do you do that? It's by looking after the fans you have, making them happy to spend money, and finding new fans that will come and spend money. So day-to-day operations in terms of the supporter experience, it's quite a broad kind of thing I'm on board with. Ticketing, retail, hospitality, and general stadium services all fall under this remit. Those are areas fans deal with every week. If there are issues, that is where they tend to end up first. The timing is not accidental this season yet, and then it goes into the rest of the article about shifting tides and everything, and that's where I kind of wanted to bring you guys in, because some of the chat we've had recently on the channel, a lot of the stuff we normally do here is based around the transfer windows, players we could get, players that we should get, that sort of stuff. And in the last couple of videos and streams, I've been, whenever that subject's been brought up in the chat, like, there is some players right now that like, Celtic are, there's not much business Celtic can actually do right now, I don't think. And we will spend, it's on the topic here for what business can be done in the summer and when. But there's not much that can really be done now, because the scope on outcome for where we're at right now for the league, and the domino effect to what that means for any income and signing from the Celtic business point of view, or the player career point of view, is just so unknown. It's great. There's not too many options afoot. So at this time of year, given that in mind, I am kind of open and happy to see the club moving other pieces in other directions to some regard. And again, so we'll get into this in a little bit more detail. Mick Nolan, the business of winning games. Oh, certainly that's the football operations. That's what they're up to. But the business that pays the wages, that funds the transfer fees, because as we know, and again, this is another topic that's on the scratch pad for later on over the next week or two. But the money for Celtic doesn't come from any of the shareholders. It all comes from the fans. You know, the club is 100% plus 70 to 90 million% self-sustaining, self-sufficient. You know, it runs on its own commercial deals. It runs on its own ticket sales. It runs on all the merchandise that that they sell and they run with. You know, there's no directors' loans. There's no infusion. You know, the Dermot Desmond is putting 20 million into the club to help finance something, or the club is taking out finance. You know, it doesn't do any of that. It makes money every year to the tune of where we're at now. So I'm with you, Mick. I'm with you. Thanks for the detail you're adding in here with it. Appreciate it. This board don't understand that the disconnect between them is irreparable. Irreparable. Oh, is that? Yeah, sorry, irreparable. It's a double R. I missed that. Irreparable. There's maybe an I missing in there somewhere. I don't know. Irreparable. That's Mark. Thanks very much. And is it irreparable? I think. Do you know, right? Chris Mackay is a finance officer, and Michael Nicholson is CEO, who's formerly the legal director or the director of legal and football affairs. This is his former kind of title before CEO. And yeah, like these guys are two front. We really shouldn't know their names. Like, honestly, we really should. And that's why I'm always like, you know, there's only so much of this in terms of who they are and what they're all about and all the rest of it that's relevant or pertinent or anything. But yeah, I suppose like they completely just vanished from public view. So, and yeah, I don't know. It probably is. I think Chris Mackay, especially the way he's been behaving with fans, it's there. But Michael Nicholson, I think a lot of the negativity surrounding him is more on the, I don't know, the sheepish nature. The like he's, you know, he doesn't look fit for the role. Essentially, you know, where he's again, we're hearing from interim chairman Brian Wilson at every turn, not sitting CEO Michael Nicholson. To piggyback on the last one, I agree. Board have no concept of the damage they've done. If we lose the title and the summer window is poor, fans will stop turning up. I would agree with that, McMahon, as well. And I do think like I think that's a good point to keep at the front of our mind here. Now, I'm also kind of aware our boy Paul, who we'll chat about in a bit more detail. It's a fair chance this is a piece of content he might catch. So fist bump, Paul. Be sure to smash like and subscribe onto the channel and all that good stuff. And feel free to leave a comment about what you think and feeling coming into the job. Because a lot of the reporting that I've seen going around social media and from you guys in the comment section around this was Michael Nicholson is directly appointing a buddy, or Chris Mackay or whatever. They're all kind of from the same background. They went to the same school and that sort of thing. And that, I think, like, when you say that the club don't or the board don't understand the damage that they've done, a big criticism for Paul Tisdale and so many others, from Mark Lawwell or whatever he was called, Peter Lawwell's son that did the scouting thing, is that Celtic don't actually go out and hire the best person available. They just find the best person they know and bring them in. So there's a little bit, same as the January window, you know, I'm going blue in the face saying, or green in the face, I should say, saying it, that everything they said in the lead up to the January window was, we believe we're doing a great job. We've got no idea why you guys are upset. And if it wasn't for Brendan, everything would be, the train would be on the tracks. And when you see how the January business unfolded, they 100% believe everything they're saying. I don't think there's really much room to doubt that. Their actions and their words marry up completely. I've always kind of been hanging on the hope of, they say that in public, but they'll know behind closed doors, guys, we need to throw the kitchen sink at this. We need to spend. We need to buy this title. Get the checkbook out. Get the PIN code for the card out. We need to go shopping in January. We need to build a squad for Martin. And no, they actually believe that their plan, their scope, their, everything that they do is fine and works fantastically well, and was going to be good enough in that January window when we were second and third place to overtake Rangers and Hearts with the way things had been going. So I would agree with the comments that they have got no concept of the damage that's been done this year. Celtic, again, we were on the cusp of complete and utter Espanyolification of Rangers. It was basically done a few times over. But with the change of operations or the change of ownership that they've had, it's maybe breathed a wee bit of fresh life into the old dog. And the Espanyolification is all been undone within a year. They're spending money in the market. They are, and maybe not this year, but they've had a wee bit more of a shot in Europe. And anyway, so I 100 the number one criticism, and Paul, if you're hearing this, the number one criticism I have of the club, the board, and how they operate is at every turn and in every conceivable way, they underestimate everything else around them, the potential of Celtic, the difficulty of the opposition, and they underestimate how Celtic could be in the Champions League every fucking season. We could be doing, especially with the format now, like we could be something big really quickly, and they overestimate everything they're doing. And when you do that to the extent that we have, yes, it's been like, and I think for me and many other people that have spoke about this, and I've not had a kind of high temperature on this topic over the last couple of years, because when you are winning, it's hard to really get behind it. Some other people out there have been very vehement on this point for a long time, because the writing on the wall of this behavior, of this pattern, has been there. This isn't anything new. We have failed in qualifiers 1,000 times before Kairat. We have failed transfer windows 1,000 times before this season. And this is the year where the compounding effect has all come in together. And then with all the external force, Rangers have got new money, Hearts have got a new angle of approach, yada, yada, everything else is going around. Everything else has got better, and we have just been sinking into this kind of epitome of sleeping at the wheel sort of thing. So I want to see massive change at the club from top to bottom. I think we've all said that. We want to see change at boardroom level. We want to see a change behind the scenes, how we recruit, how we're structured. The focus we've got on youth development is absolutely basic from the results that we've had over the last couple of years, and doesn't ever bear any fruit. And like I said kind of earlier on in the stream, I think the appointment, if this is to be what's the case, particularly with this guy, and again, Heineken, this is how you know it's like a mates thing, of course, because in an ideal world, you would hire someone to do this job from the Premier League. You would hire someone from this job from the top end of the English Championship. I think maybe you could go to Europe or America potentially, but I think you're mainly looking at Premier League clubs, you're mainly looking at top end Championship clubs to get the best person for the job. And I don't think there's any harm in saying that. I think that's just the fact and the reality. If this guy knows these people and can work with them, depending on how he's wired and depending on the power he has, and we'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a second, then maybe that could be still an okay thing, that he does have maybe that connection to the club. He gets what's going on, rather than if he came in from, let's just say, I don't know, for lack of a better team, Wrexham, right? Since they're doing so good, like, imagine we got the guy from Wrexham. That's kind of a good Championship. Like, oh, that's quite cool. He's been involved in a bit recently, so they would, again, there's the whole getting no to Glasgow. What's the situation? Dealing with all the crap that we've got already with Desmond and all the and the board and all the baggage that's around it all. So this guy's maybe got a jump start on an outsider, in air quotes, around there. Agreed 100%. Quinny Rudy Vata preferred to burn his bridges with the club rather than let his boys stew under a terrible coaching system. And I think, like, I think Scottish football is so underserved, not just from Celtic, but honestly, I think, like, from top to bottom, there's a few clubs that do good. Hearts are one of them, and you've seen that kind of recent years. Hibs and Dundee United, quite famously, have had good crops over the last 20 years at different points. But there's such a lack of, like, when I look at other countries, and we won't sidebar on this for too long, right? But when I look at other countries' youth development, in particular, the ones that have like a mechanically repeatable structure, are all in that main band of Europe: Portugal, Spain, Holland, Germany. France is a bit different. France is a lot more like center of excellence type stuff, because it's, and yada yada, whatever. But with all those other countries I just named, there is a very coherent, like, regional kind of joint effort to feed into the big club of the area. So not to think of this in a Celtic point of view, because this is like a Scotland thing, the way I like to think of it. But if you can imagine, I don't know, maybe this isn't a good example, so there's maybe a few teams around there, right? But if you imagine like the body of Lancashire, South Lanarkshire, whatever, Lanarkshire, there we go. Always like under the, not quite the umbrella of Motherwell or whatever, but if all the teams there of every kind of denomination from youth all the way down and up, all kind of fed into the one system, and yeah, like, again, like if you just look at Spain, Holland, this is how all those teams work, where everything in their little region feeds the main club in the region, and that's how like Arjen Robben comes through at Groningen's and stuff like that, and how all these German players all come through at like Cologne and Union Berlin and all these other little clubs you've never heard of, and then they end up at Leverkusen and stuff because they're allowed to stay in their region until they're ready to go. Anyway, sidebar over with that one. Because there's just a lot of work to be done. It's not just on Celtic, but we could kind of lead the way. I am a better customer of Heineken than I am of Celtic just now, to be fair. Vandal Grease, that is a top comment for today. That will be hard to beat. Why should I think we're talking about Rodgers and stuff. What are the odds that they sign a striker in the summer? And so again, we'll go into this in more detail, right? This might be the beginning domino. So it's mentioned in the article here, right? But I also went on to Gemini, which is like the Google kind of talking to you machine, as I call it. And I asked it, what is expected from a head of business operations responsibilities, particularly for a football club in the UK? And if you have a look at this, you can pause the screen if you want. But it's a lot of the stuff that's mentioned in the article for a start, of course. But when you think about this is what this guy is coming in to take over from. And as much as we all have huge gripes and huge concerns with a lot of what's going on in the football department, like I mentioned already, for where Celtic are now, we don't know who's going to be our manager next year. We need to buy half of a team. A lot of that is really hard to do. I would dare say, especially if you're going to get the players and the manager optimal to the situation, the best ones available, you really do need to wait till the summer. And in the case of some players, maybe after the World Cup, depending on how that's going. So, you can only deal with what you can deal with at the time. So someone that's going to come in, and I'm not too sure exactly, none of the reporting confirms an announcement date here, but someone that's going to come in and focus on let's not focus on hospitality too much here, right? We've maybe had a wee bit enough of that this year, but focusing on ticketing and the retail side of things to be better and all the rest of it's probably it's also just a good thing for the club and how it works and everything, because with the club being self-sufficient the way it is now, and we can see how rich it is and how abundant everything should be around the club, and it's really been held back right now. Again, we can all see the underutilization of the club, and regardless of all the changes that we still need to see happening, and I know there's a campaign on the go now. I'm not trying to get around anything or talk down on any of that, but Celtic are in the dark ages with a lot of the processes, protocols, and procedures with so much of this stuff. And although this guy's not really been handled in the ticketing world, perhaps too directly, excuse me, events, operations, overall, this kind of stuff, financial fair play. It also goes on to say that you'll have direct ownership of profit and loss, which sounds like a key element of the kind of overall operations. So like budgeting into the transfer department might now be reimagined to some regard, because at the moment it's been on this, is where we can imagine from the outside looking in, this archaic system of anyone over 3 million quid needs to go to Dermot Desmond himself for personal authorization. And the whole budgeting system around all the departments, football included, I don't really care about the rest of them, definitely needs reinvented. And head of business operations, if he's got that in his role, then that would be good. Commercial acumen, resilience, relationship building as well. So again, nothing here really speaks to the football side of things. You'll not see any mention of scouting. You'll not see any mention of academy, infrastructure development, nothing. This is all on business operations, what it says on the tin. So I think you can expect to see limited changes in that matter. A lot of people pointed out to the fact that he's got a LinkedIn profile, and in the LinkedIn profile, he looks like quite a friendly guy. I suppose having a beer in your hand is a big part of that, and having Heineken on your page is quite cool as well. But this is a guy, like, I had a quick glance at this. You can pause it if you want to read anything in any great detail, but a guy that's went to uni, got his degree, worked at a few companies, worked his way up from territory manager to commercial manager over 8 years, 14 years at Heineken, from a regional guy to a head of, like, this guy's worked his way up. He's also achieved some stuff, and pretty big company, you know. So depending on what he's up to and what he's got, because again, like I really get the feeling from these guys, and a lot of the joking that we've made is like Michael Nicholson doesn't phone anyone back. He doesn't answer the phone to anyone. So if a part of the problem, and it really hopefully isn't the be all and end all of our problems, because if it is, then Jesus Christ, are we in a bad place? But this guy is clearly overwhelmed with the amount of things on his plate. So if there's just a huge division of responsibility through this, then you know, I don't think we're going to. What does a better Michael Nicholson look like? I don't know, but just better running this stuff is surely a positive, I think. Let me see what you guys are thinking and feeling. One of the Champions League main sponsors, Heineken. Yep, I'm pretty sure of that. Thought the main feather in the board's cap was that we were a well-run business and now we're getting in this guy. Simon, that's a very, very good point. I would imagine this is, in terms of business operations, I would imagine a big part of that is modernization, because Heineken beer companies, alcohol, it's quite cutting edge, you know, because what's the difference between Heineken and any other beer out there? It's marketing, it's advertising, it's looking after customers, it's experiences as well whenever they do events and sponsorships type stuff. So again, he's maybe just got a little bit more of the taste of like a big company running this rather than a football team. And maybe the fact that he's from Glasgow, presumably a Celtic fan, if he's mates with these guys and went to St Aloysius and all the rest of it, then yeah, maybe, yeah. But that's a great point, mate. It's a great point. He's here to stop the wallet voting. What does that mean, Mick? By improving supporter service, as Mazoyer has been tasked, the club is masking a sunk cost investment to prove they are planning for long-term cooperative game, which encourages fans to reciprocate. Interesting. It's a good POV. I like your kind of 3D chess thinking on that, Mick. I really do. It'll be interesting to see what follows this, because I think there's been a quiet suspicion in the background that Michael Nicholson might leave in the summer. And this type of appointment kind of flies in the face of that, because it would feel like he's it's like politics and football clubs and business. You know, you surround yourself with guys that you know have got your back, that are going to go to war with you, for you. I've got Mick McCarthy as manager of business operations. That would be good. So I think we need a lot of change. Is this the first domino to fall? Perhaps. I don't know. I'm optimistic that it's a fresh face from out with the sphere that could come in and shake things up. And if, again, part of the stuff that was on the Gemini chat, it's about like a lot of the stuff that we're upset with, if you know what I mean, overseeing the compliance with FFP. Celtic seem to think that we're in breach of FFP, which is mental. Now, you guys might be sitting there thinking they don't actually believe that, Quinny. See everything else they've said to this point. They have done actions to back it up. No matter how stupid it sounds, or no matter how much it feels like, are you in the same dimension as everyone else? They actually believe we're at risk of financial fair play. Now, I've also heard some murmurs around that we're already preparing financially, budgetarily, to be a Conference League team. And maybe that's what we're fearful for. We're in. But again, these UEFA things are in 3-year windows. If we're in the Conference League for 1 year, it's obviously going to dampen things and whatever, but it's not going to be an absolute handicap situation, in my opinion. Happy comment section, live chat to correct me at your leisure. Managing data protection is not a big issue. Acting as a key link between the board of directors, the first team managing sporting director, and external stakeholders. So this is the guy that's going to be figuring out, you know, what was it? It was like do you remember the day where it was Schmeichel did something bad, and then the next morning we released an Arthur Boric compilation on Celtic Fans TV? Maybe quite a petty example, but maybe the guy that's going to be responsible for reading the room and knowing, like, guys, we need to spend money on players. It's just unavoidable at this point. Resilience, relationship building is going to need a lot of this, isn't he? I've been quite open to the point of Celtic needs to restructure the board, and I really do think, if you're going to think of the club as a business, which it seems like we're doing in an increasing nature from a business point of view, from that capitalistic POV, the failures that have happened season on season, which have shown this season and been exemplified this season through the summer and January transfer window and the European campaign, somebody should lose their job. It's just a sad reality of it, sadly. But I don't think that's going to happen. So again, to kind of part of the point, what can Big Paul Mazoyer do to get the Celtic fans back on board? What can he do that's different to the club, which isn't I'm replacing somebody, because doesn't seem to be the case. It seems, if anything, he's in with the pals, he's in with his boys. And I think a big part of that is contrition. You know, so much of Celtic that's missing right now is seeing the obvious, is seeing the wood for the trees. Like, we've had 2 statements from Brian Wilson, and Brian Wilson goes so close to talking about the issue without talking about anything. And there's nobody at the club that's taking responsibility. There's been a bit of buck passing and finger pointing to Brendan Rodgers. And I think with the actions of the January window and the repercussions of Nancy and Tisdale leaving and how much our pants were pulled down by that whole situation, there is no hiding behind the fact that it is broken, the whole thing, you know, and does need revamped. Yes, they are. Honestly, I'm like, oh, this guy Desmond, everyone keeps telling me he's a bad billionaire and he's a mad capitalist. It's all about money. And I'm thinking, right, cool. Well, where is that guy? Because if that guy is who's meant to be running the show, these guys have got away with absolute murder, man. But no one at Celtic. There's no, do you know what? We got, even the Ross Desmond statement, it almost goes into saying we messed up. But it says, yeah, we don't get everything right. But if you look over the last blah, 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 however many years, we've got enough things kind of half right. It ignores all the the opportunity cost of all the missed Champions Leagues that we've had is unfathomable. Because it's not just the money in the bank you'd be missing out, but imagine the players you could have signed. Imagine the compounding gain that could have been happening, even with Ronnie Deila in charge. I was at Europa League games where we had Fenerbahce, Ajax, and Molde in our group in the Europa League. Borderline a Champions League group. We had Ronnie Deila, I think, only had 1 Champions League kind of outing, if that. I don't think he did. So I always remember Van Dijk didn't really have much of a Champions League situation. I know Lenny brought him in, but it was mainly Europa League. And in the Europa League, with those teams, every one of those games, we were winning or drawing and ended up losing like every game. I can't remember the statistic, but there was a funny one with that group stage of like, we were in a winning position in every game and ended up drawing it or losing it. Or I think we drew like 5 games in the group or something mad. I forget exactly. But we played Zenit. I think the first game, the first leg, we did well. We went away to Russia and get hammered. I don't want to dig up dead bodies and all that kind of stuff, the things that have gone by. But nobody can admit how bad the club has been. Like, this is how good Celtic is doing right now. Yes, there's like some cute transfers that have been done, and the appointment of Ange, the appointment of Brendan, first and maybe even second time around, strokes of brilliance when they happened. But outside of that, all the success financially and on the pitch has happened in spite of the club, the board, the decision makers. And they don't recognize that, you know? A bit of humility, a little bit of recognition of we have messed up catastrophically. We can see Hearts, right? Let's just think about Hearts for a second, right? Hearts are top of the league, right? And everyone is going on about Tony Bloom in Jamestown and da-da-da. Tony Bloom's put in 10 million quid and yada yadas, all the rest of it. Where the hell's the page I'm after? Hearts for this season. I've not prepped this in advance. Excuse me. This season they have made 2.5 million in the transfer window. It's not as if they've just went out and like spent. It's not as if Tony Blooms came in and they went, right, here's 8 million quid, bought Kizarides, Braga, Leonard, and Schwallow, and all the other ones that have came in. No, not at all. They sold Penrice for 2.3 million. And otherwise, there's nothing else here, really. Dramas went to Portugal for probably nothing. Some guy went to Livingston for probably nothing. And then all the transfers they brought in Oh no, expenditure. Sorry, they spent 2.5. Sorry, it's the wrong way around. So 2.5 on him. But that money that they've spent is mainly in, I think, the January window. I think it was where they got a bit of an increase. Yeah, 1.8, 1.2. Yeah, because but before that, they'd spent like hundreds of thousands. It was almost nothing. Claudio Braga, 500,000. Kabungu, who they'd loaned in the season before. Chesnikov, the guy everyone was raving about, has not really done anything. It's a free transfer. Swallow, free transfer. Altena, 1 million. Agu, who's injured, not kicked a ball, 2 million. They've not spent mad money. And through this, like, how many smart signings have they made here that have meant something? The goalkeeper, Kizaridis, McEntee as well, I suppose, has been a bit of a hero, hasn't he? Braga and Altena, I think you get 5 guys. Hearts have brought in 5 guys and are top of the league. And no one at Celtic can accept that we're not doing the best we can and that we have been making mistake after mistake after mistake for years and years and years. So this guy, obviously, he's got no sins to account for personally himself, but him coming out or him being a part of something that states and, we get actual, face to camera, have audited what we've done for this season and then expanded it to the last however long we want to cast our net back here. And, we can see that there's been systematic failure from within the club. And we acknowledge and apologise to the fans that have pointed this out for however long. And we are making every effort going forward. We are now going to have this type of approach. We are about bringing in this guy to now make sure that ticketing is like this and fan engagement is like this and blah, blah, blah. And then guy's going to come in. We're redeveloping our budgets for transfer policy. We've got a big job ahead of us because of how this season's going and how this season ends. I would expect all this to be end of season because, like I mentioned before, like they're now, who knows where you are really in so many ways. If the club get out of jail on this by hook or by crook and qualify for the Champions League, win the leagues this year, they somehow get off the hook. They cannot go, oh, brilliant. We know what we're doing. Oh, it got worrisome there for a minute, but we definitely know what we're doing. We still, no matter how bad it got, we still came through that. Let's carry on the way where we're going. Aye, but we brought in 6 on loan or freeze. When, not if Hearts win it, then the Champions League money could take them to another level. And I think going forward as well, at Celtic, somebody mentioned again, it's been a big topic of this, or it's a big theme of this topic so far, is they don't know the damage they've done. Hearts and or Rangers getting in there. I'm going to say it's going to be Hearts this year. And I think you're right, Shadow player, that Hearts will win the league at some point. I think we can all see that. I had them down to finish second this year. I thought the Tony Bloom thing, what we just looked at, I thought that was going to take them ahead of Rangers and it wouldn't have been much of a question. And it looks like that's been kind of true. I had no idea it was going to put them ahead of us. Never mind, we've came down as well, obviously. But yeah, I know Robert Devlin, I know. But just to say it, if they do win, they can't take high ground. They can't hold position. They still have to say, we got away with that. But we've came face to face with death. We've came face to face with our maker and we have seen the error of our ways. And here is the steps to go forward. I think so too. I think honestly, with humility and acceptance of the situation, I don't think any statement resembling what I've just asked for there would be possible before the end of the season. So I'm just going to say that one more time. But I think that is an underestimatable, huge step to repair. It really is. But it has to be followed up. They can't Brexiters where they all come over the border and say we'll change stuff and then nothing changes. They can't do that because it's a football club. We're not going anywhere. There's not going to be a new cycle of stuff. You can't go start a war with somebody or do any of this crap to change all the stuff that's going on. And this is an unknown factor in it all as well as Dermot Desmond. He's a spiteful control freak, says Colin Rogers. No sign of ambition, no big plan, just a conversation piece on the golf course. And that is what a lot of Celtic fans do think and feel and believe to be the case, sadly. Although we have had, and I was bringing this up last week again, but there used to be signs, and I think we all know that there used to be some signs that he cared and he had some ambition. And maybe when there was an unwinnable fight, with the financial gulf that existed in football in the early let's say the mid to late 2000s into the majority up until probably about 2020, 2019, 2018. I think is when the data and the youth development side really kind of people got ahead of, because again, the game for that time that we got in on a little bit with Wanyama and Van Dijk was, oh, if you can sell players to England, then you can just get a bit of their money without being in the Premier League, and teams all around the continent, Benfica and Ajax and Bruges, they got that money that way, and then they put that money to work, and we've just sat on it and squandered it and whatever. There's been no plan for, how do we get more of that English Premier League money into the club? How do we sell them some players? What players do they like? What players do they they're maybe going to spend money on, but they don't. But we'll take a chance on them and we'll bring them in, make them a first team player, that kind of thing. Never mind the European stuff and all the stuff that this guy, again, as well. I think a lot of people would love some great stadium development around where Celtic Park, the match day experience is much more akin to a day out. I think in this current climate, this generation, this life that we're all kind of in right now in 2026, football with your mates, football with the family, football by yourself, but you're in the company of like-minded people. Going for the game and going home is still what a lot of people are going to do and whatever, but getting there early, getting in the buzz, having something to eat beforehand, maybe going for a pint or something, pubs are around, whatever, some music. There's so much that can be done that just makes, because the club has way more going for it than what so many other clubs around the world have going for it. And because of that, having the match day mean more is just something a lot of other clubs do, and we really squander. Need someone to laugh at Dermot Desmond for him to do anything. I was really hoping that the Tony Bloom mirror up would do something. I think this year it's it's unavoidable. If it's ever going to be this year, and so many of you have asked for, or not so many of you, but it's been a cry in the Celtic community for this type of Armageddon season that we're having to be required to bring about change. And if it's going to happen, again, we've had so many of these points already for the positive, where I remember Brendan Rodgers being in double trebles and trebles, invincibles and all that stuff. And it's like, right, if we're going to kick on in the Champions League, if we're going to give somebody some money, it's surely Brendan. And yeah, we spent the money on Edward and we did some bits, but we didn't really see the job through. We started getting cheap. We started loaning guys in. We started going to the bargain bucket for everything, and we squandered it. And then you think, right, well, for 10 in a row, they've got to pull all the stops out. And you know what? In the moment, in that window, it did feel like they did. Barkas, Ajeti, all these guys cost money. Shane Duffy, I thought was a great signing at the time, and I'm sure many people, if being honest with themselves, would have agreed that also. But anyway, other stuff went against us and all the rest of it. But then Ange comes in to pick up the pieces. And fair enough, Champions League didn't work out too good for us, and Ange didn't really hang around long enough to really get that next level back and to see us ascend, especially with the new Champions League format on the horizon. But you would have thought that the time to really have some ambition and to really kick on, if you're going to do it from a positive standpoint, would have been you bring Brendan back. You're on the way to maybe a second 10, maybe a second 10 bubbling around. Obviously, that's all disappearing this season again. The Champions League format is changing. Brendan's coming back for glory. He's not coming here for money. He's not going to jump to Leicester this time or some other crap like that. And the club's finances have never been better. Ange is built as a team. You can get sold and da-da-da-da. And we can sell O'Reilly and we can fund this. We've got Jota money and all the rest of it. But no, again, they don't kick on from a position of strength once more. So is it going to take the Armageddon situation to bring about change, where the dream scenarios, like really this summer was the time when we were in the Garden of Eden. We had a quality squad. We had Champions League success the year before, really pushed the boundaries under a new format that had we got into this season, it was very feasible. We could have had the same season again. We could have finished in the top 24 and got pumped out in the next round. We could have done that again. Maybe we could have done a bit better. Fine. Okay. But that was conceivable. But no, we cheap out. And we can't score a goal against. All we had to do was buy a goal for Kairat. Kairat home and away was 0-0. 0-0. Daizen Maeda misses huge sitters in both games. Fine. But all we had to do with Kairat was buy a goal, and we couldn't do it. So if we've had these golden egg We've never had more money in the bank. The Champions League has never been more profitable. We've never had such a good base of a squad. And like I said earlier, we had basically the Espanyolification of Rangers had basically been achieved. But no. How it twists and how it turns so quickly. Again, a theme throughout this has been they have got no idea the damage that they have done this season. Yeah. Sorry, Mick. Sorry. Had to just, because we did have a chance anyway. But it's again, at the time, we all said that team should have won. And I just, again, I can't help. It's kind of muscle reflex to throw that in there. Wonder if season ticket info will get sent out soon, and wonder if Paul has been given any say in it. Interesting. Yeah, well, that will be interesting as well. I heard Ryan mention that on his show, I think yesterday, the day before, that season ticket renewals normally go out Easter holiday kind of time, give or take. So that'll be interesting. This is only rumor and murmur so far. This appointment of Paul Mazoyer. I hope it's a good thing. I really do hope he's like a Don Mackay type figure, where he's like a breath of fresh air. He's from a company, a big blue chip company, knows how things are done in the real world, and can talk to these guys and go, right, Michael, grow a set, tell Dermot this, like somebody that can talk to these guys that they'll listen to. That, that there is potential positivity here. And Paul, if you are watching this, I would love to get hired in some sort of scouting position. That would be brilliant. Anything to do with transfers, anything to do with players, it would be so. I would love it. Just in case you're watching, you have my email, you have my CV. Don't forget to hit the like button again. And if you're watching this live and loud, Jungle Gyms around the world, be sure to smash the like button as well. Of course, there's been lots of stuff going in the chat. Talking about the Dundee game, which we're 2 weeks away from. So I'm not really ready there. Quinny, Conference League will be breaking point. Watch this space. Now, again, we had Conference League football with Ange, and I remember when we played Bodo Glimt, if memory serves me right, fans were thinking this is a competition we could win. And now the way that they changed, we fell into that through the Europa League trapdoor. And those trapdoors are all gone with the new format. So, like, see if we did get into the Conference League, it would be breaking point, right? But I would 1,000% want us to win it. I think I've seen a post from the Conference League. I don't even want to talk about it. No, I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to bring anything into existence. But it would be breaking point for the club. It'd be breaking point for so much. You would have to think that if we ended up in the Conference League from where we were last year, the inability we'll have to sign the sort of quality of player would be required. Who do we bring in as manager? What is success even next season? How good do Hearts and Rangers do next season? Oh, it doesn't even bear thinking about at this point, to be honest with you. I think, breaking point, Typhoon McFlustery is what it would be for many. We need to expand the wage structure parameters, which is the real reason we keep losing out on players. Yeah, potentially. I also think I brought this up with Paul John on Monday, but the boy Faris Gajemis decided to stay at Frosinone because he wanted to win Serie B. So there's clearly a real problem at Celtic with pitching, with closing. Again, that's a job I'd love. I'd love to talk to players about coming to Celtic and get them hyped to come here. I believe I would do a pretty good job at it. I have got no experience in it, but I am pretty passionate about football and Celtic, and it feels like from everything I've heard about players that signed for clubs on unexpected terms, that's the thing they say is like the club really wanted me. They're really passionate, and I can really get behind what they're going to drive towards. And we don't really have that coming from the club quite clearly. The fans feel it. And if players are turning us down to stay in this Serie B title hunt, we clearly don't have anyone doing that, talking to players. Yeah, Europa is for the cup. I've heard that too. Thanks, Barry boy. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but we can pray. And if Paul likes the channel, maybe he'll get us in. We do lots of content. There's lots of proof in the pudding here, by the way. Our current squad is way too cliquey. I think the squad has had little cliques in it and stuff like that. I think, again, do we maybe delve into another topic? perhaps. We can't negotiate deals. It's embarrassing. Okay, now, I also seen that. I'm not on LinkedIn very much, right, if ever, to be honest with you, but it gets sent to me from LinkedIn and I had to go and check it out myself. I wonder if I can still find it here, but it was it was. It's still here. So we spoke a few months ago when we had James Bell Walker appointed as senior international scout or senior recruitment scout, whatever it was, at Celtic from Chelsea. But 1 month ago, he posted on LinkedIn saying that he was happy to. This was a month ago, right? So this is after the January window had closed. Happy to complete my 6-week negotiation course with LSE. Really worthwhile, yada yadas. Don't know anything about the course, London School of Economics and Political Sciences, but there you go. I'm sure they're very reputable and all the rest of it. Good to see he's upskilling in the job, right? But is this is this what's going on? Is that what's going on now? Oh yeah, the lurker. Yeah, I see him. Where is he? And I do need to get a mod on the go. I do need to get a mod. I got him, guys. Quinny, what formation should we have at present? I think formation right now is a bit it's a bit like semantics, really, like, because we've got very little quality options. We need injured players to return. We've got ourselves into this position. There's just no getting out of it. Negotiations with Sriracha, I've not really heard anything. Third and fourth, get conference. 4-1-3-2. Barry Boy, that's a fun thought. Get more centre mids on the go. I think the problem is we lose wings then, maybe a wee bit. Unless you kind of diamond that a wee bit and you have Negren at the top. And you get Yang and Maeda on the mega press. Do you remember the photo of the Dutch squad from about 15 years ago? That's us now. Oh, is it all the kind of, is it all the generics and stuff? I don't know. Don't remember that. So yeah, that's where we're at, guys. I hope it's a positive change. I hope it's a domino where some more things are going to happen. I don't think, sadly, I think what I mentioned before, like what they need to come out and admit and say and tell us they're doing and then back it up is one thing. That was probably like the second best thing they could do. The best thing the club could do, as much as it's just the reality. But one of these two would need to be sacked or removed from their position. I think that would be. And the other guy, the security guy, begins with an H. Lots of Celtic fans really don't like him. I forgot his name right now. Is it Hopkins or Hodgkins or something? But him and one of these two leaving, and I think like sea change overnight. The thing I said earlier about culpability and then telling us, okay, you don't need to tell us, or we've got 19.8 million to spend before the qualifiers or whatever. Hargreaves, there we go, that's the name there. Or our wage budget is blah blah blah. You know, yeah, we're not expecting confidential explicits, but we expect something to go on. I've been doing a bit of stuff on social media recently talking about the difference between Celtic's communication, and this is a big thing for business operations as well. When it comes down to injuries and stuff like that, like Celtic are just abnormal with it, where we've got no idea what's going on. And as active fans, we just want to know this stuff. We want to know going to the game of the weekend, Arnie Engels is back in the team, McGregor is on to play, or somebody's out because they've got surgery, they've had injury. So much of this comes out through hearsay and rumours. But there's so much of what the club misses from the engagement. Oh, what was the other main part of that? It wasn't just the injury stuff, but it was the transfer stuff. So at the end of transfer windows in the summer and in January, many a club around Europe would have the Paul Tisdale figure sit down in a press conference and say, we signed this player, we're really happy with it. We did try, yes, the rumours were true. We were very close to signing these guys, but it didn't happen because they wanted too much money, or the other club came in with more transfer fee. We couldn't match that. And they'll discuss some stuff and then maybe say, you know, we were really close to bringing in a big goalkeeper, but he went to this other team. It wasn't, you know, maybe tell you something, but they maybe give you the overall apparatus of, we're happy with the transfer window, we're unhappy with the transfer window, we wanted to do more, we could have done more, and own it. We don't quite get that. We sometimes get a little bit of, we're going to try in January. Remember Michael Nicholson spoke about back in Nancy in January? And fair enough, Nancy and Tisdale left and apparently took the scouting notebook with them. They had no players to approach. But Martin's, there was no money spent in January. We were third and second. It's just crazy. Higgins, somebody's saying as well. Is it Higgins? Quinny, do you think any of our loan players will be back? Now, I think we'll finish topic Tuesday with this, right? Because this is a great topic. We only have a few players that are in this position, Shadow, and the Rocky is the one that's came up in conversation the most regularly. Now, he's still been struggling with injury, but he came back at the weekend, by the way. And the Rocky, under a new manager, I'm going to say it now, 100% should get a look in under a new manager in the summer. Because at Bundesliga 2 level, which is a very good level, and if we were going to sign a guy that performed like the Rocky is doing in any position in that league, I would be excited, and I think you should be too. But he scored at the weekend. He scored 2 goals in 2 games now. These ratings that we cover this on the channel quite a lot. The performance ratings out of 100 based on, it's all Opta covered statistics, but this mainly measures successful actions. So the more success they have on the pitch, if they're a defender, we're looking at things like duels, clearances, tackles, blocks, interceptions, possession won and lost, all sorts of stuff, passing. They do get some attacking credit, of course, as well, because like Naroki does, they tend to score goals. So out of this is a very good and very, very revealing scoring metric. I'm a big fan of. It's on Sorare. It's a fantasy football game for any that are new around here. It's what I do with most of my time. But Naroki is performing so well. Now, you can see the injuries have not evaded him. He's still carrying them. He still had to wrestle with them in Germany. But this is a centre-back we should be looking at in the summer under a new manager. Sorry. Missing your tea there. My tea's not too far away. My tummy's starting to rumble as well. Heads must roll, sparks must fly. I think that's kind of where we're at, you know, in terms of like sincere change and a concrete change of tide. The NFL mandate that every team produces an injury report every day. It's mainly down to betting stuff because NFL and I know it's kind of changed now for betting, but there's a lot of it's a lot to do with that. I think over there it's very commercialized. Fantasy football stuff is very important to Americans as well. Very important to me. It's why I'm high on it as well, I guess. But yeah, it's just modern sport. Like, you know, I went to what game did I go to? I went to Man City Southampton 3 or 4 seasons ago. And I wanted to see De Bruyne and David Silva. That's what I wanted to see. And guess who I didn't see when I went there? Punchline. No David Silva, no De Bruyne. One of them came off the bench. I can't even tell you who it was. And I was gutted by that. And anyway, bit of a lesser thing you maybe experience with Celtic because, again, we're just not maybe get those types of players and that sort of thing. But if you were coming to a Celtic game for the first time this season, for the first time in a year or whatever, and you had no idea who the team was going to be, and maybe like we've got guys that are fit, and then you come for a cup game because that's when you get tickets for. We played the likes of Johnny Kenny's and whatever, and you're like, oh, for God's sake, I wish I knew. You know, like it's just, you know, it's fan experience. We want to know who's in the team. I thought Rocky should have stayed. He had glimpses, didn't he? I think for Rodgers wants pace at centre back, and maybe that's his limitation. Hanover are in the top. The upper echelons are in 5th at the moment of Bundesliga 2, so they'll be looking to get promoted through playoffs as it stands to Bundesliga proper. So that's a different style of football as well. So you do need to think about that for the league and the team. But defensively and on the ball, again, if we can just put the Rocky back up here. Passing is something that he does get good points for. He's got 8 here, 58 passes. And this is very, like, trusty Carter Vickers numbers, you know. He is maybe doing a bit of playing out from the back for them, but it's not wild. He's not, like, stroking the ball, breaking the lines and everything. Maybe in this game he did 24 points against Schalke, 9 long passes into the opposition, 7 accurate long balls. That could be switches of play from left to right. 18 final third passes against Schalke. That's pretty good, by the way, away from home. Yeah, maybe he is stroking out from the back a bit more. He did show glimpses at Celtic, but I think pace and fitness was his main handicaps. Yeah. Shin Yamada as well, little kind of side note, has also been in Bundesliga 2. And I seen an article somewhere, I forget who it was. I'm sorry, I can't credit it. Maybe we're on CeltsAreHere. that the manager or the sporting director or whatever has basically said we don't need him anymore. We brought him in because they had a nightmare of an injury thing. They were fighting relegation. They've played him 5 times, all in, 1 start, 4 off the bench. And I think he's basically coming back to Glasgow now. They're done with him. This team are 18th. That could be bottom. They're definitely in the relegation zone of Bundesliga 2. I think they are bottom. Can we look at the league table on this? Yeah, they are 18th, rock bottom. And they won't play Shin Yamada. If they get promoted, they can buy him for 2 million. That is criminal because we spent like 4.5 million on him. Now, like I mentioned with Araujo is not as expensive to buy in the way football economics work as a lot of people think. Like a lot of people I've heard, like just other Celtic content out there, like, oh, Bournemouth spent 8 or 10 on him, so we would need to spend that. It's not really the way it works accounting wise. And that, if that's true, that's what we've done with Naroki, because we bought Naroki for 5 million euros in 2023. We probably gave him a 5-year deal. Option ends in 28. Yep. So we gave him a 5-year deal at 5 million. So that's $1 million a year. And then if we were to sell him in the summer for 2 million, that's break even. So he'll have done 3 years, won't he? So that's just base. That's just base. Like, if you're worried about financial fair play and you don't build profit into any of your deals, it was on the Daily Ranger about Shin, was it? Chicken curry or chili con carne? That is a great question. If it's like yellow chicken curry, then I'm picking chili. But if it's like, just what chicken curry you would get from the Indians? I'd probably pick the chicken curry. Deadlier than Kyogo and quicker than Maeda. Shin Yamada. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think Shin's got much of a future. Actually, funnily enough, Kwon has actually been playing in Bundesliga 2, not been regularly starting, has been in and out of the team as well. But the other one is Palma, and it sounded like Lech Poznan. We're going to try and like buy him and then sell him quickly. So watch out for that. But I'm not sure. Maybe it depends. Palma did well in Poland, right? But the team we found him at that he was doing well in was Aris, I think it was, who are like the 5th or 6th team in Greece. So to do well there and then do well in Poland, like, that's not really much of a stretch of the imagination. And yes, he did okay for us in like moments, long shots and crosses and stuff like that. Maybe he could do better. I would much rather use Palma as like collateral for a deal and like an MLS transfer or something like that, or just try and sell him because he has had good numbers. And if you can get a team to pay money for him, then why not? Both homemade. Oh, I'm taking the chili. Homemade chili's good. So yeah, Paul Mazoyer, if he gets the job, I would say welcome to Celtic. I hope this is a change. I hope this is a change for the positive. I hope this is the first domino that falls. And maybe when we get to the end of the season, a lot more light shed on this dynamic, the behind the scenes, the modernization of the club from top to bottom, because that's what we have asked for. And this potentially is a top of the table or a top of the hierarchy. Don't like quite say change because he's not replacing anyone, but it's a change of structure and maybe a change of role and responsibilities internally. Maybe it's a good one. Odenholm I've not seen in training, by the way, the last couple of weeks. So I don't think Odenholm's in the building either. So tomorrow, so I've got a few more topics on the drawing board. I've got Celtic's next manager. I've got the summer business stuff. We kind of touched on it earlier on in the show. What Celtic need to do revisited. So if you guys will remember, last time we had a bit of a break. I forget what the reason for it was. I did a video, what Celtic need to do to win the title. And I went through all the games for everyone in the league and projected outcomes, tried to be green tinted glasses for it and imagine like, okay, if we're going to do it, what would it look like? It's probably a good time to revisit that now. We've got 1 or 2 games before the split. Many more games have gone and where we find ourselves. So I'll be picking up with that. So if you've not seen that video already, it is on the channel. It's called What Celtic Need to Do to Win the Title. And I'll pick up with that at some point this week. I did try and do a topic Tuesday before I had that tooth malfunction. We're going to chat about Player of the Year. Now, Player of the Year is a really weird topic because our year has been terrible, really. But I kind of want to have a state of the squad chat. You know, who has been good? Who's worth like imagining here next year, and what would work well with them? Players coming back from injury, transfers, we would need to do that sort of thing. And fans' money is another topic I've got on the board. So plenty going around there. If there's anything you would like to get suggested, the live chat's probably not a great place anymore because the stream will be ending in a moment. But if you could do that in the comment section, that would I'll see it there, and we can add it into the notepad, and we'll get it drafted in for this week. We'll also have the return of Thursday night streams on the channel. So 7 o'clock, me and McBride Ace will be back between now and the end of the season for a little bit of Celtic Supporters Club, a little bit of CSC on a Thursday night. So Thursdays at 7, you can regularly schedule that in, failing any kind of unforeseen circumstances on a Thursday night. And yeah, plenty of other stuff on the channel. So if you like the show today, if you like any other stuff that we do, please do hit the like button, subscribe for more, jump into the comment section, let me know what you thought about the topic today. Paul Mazoyer, what's your feelings on it? Do you care? Do you not? Do you think it means something? Does it mean nothing? And any other topics you'd like to see covered on the channel while we're in international break. Thanks for everyone that tuned in. Enjoy the rest of your night. Hail, hail. And on the hoops.